That's all right. We're having a community-wide study this Sunday and the next 2 Sundays. And really our intention is, especially during this time of Lent, to connect our body in a broader way, that we sit down around tables, we eat a meal together, and then we discuss what I'm talking about today. And if something's really awkward, it's me sitting at a table leading a group about what I talked about. It's really odd, but that's what we're doing. And I hope that you guys, if you can come, great. And just to let you know a little bit how it's going to work is immediately following this service, if you're going to go to the barn, we'll have food there. Food isn't for, if you're not coming, don't come eat our food, okay? Sorry. But if you're coming, bring your kids, get your kids out of the, check them out, bring them in, eat. We're going to eat together, and then about a half an hour in, I'll excuse the kids to go down to childcare. And kids, I mean all the way up to middle schoolers. If you have middle schoolers, Steve's going to have something for them, right, Steve? All right. So just a way to connect us around tables discussing things that are meaningful. So if you can make it, it's right after this service, and we'll be done in an hour and a half. Only an hour discussion, half an hour for food. All right, one more reminder. You have a Connect card in your bulletin. That's that perforated section. Especially if you're a newcomer, we want to connect with you. We want to invite you to things like we're having right afterwards. And so if you would, just fill that out completely. Give us your digits, your phone number, email, so that we can invite you to church family stuff, the way we get together and those kind of things. And then tear that out and then drop it in the baskets on your way out this morning. Well, we're in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. We're starting in chapter 4. If you have your Bibles, I think it's a really good idea to open them up, or your phone apps, follow along. They'll be up on the screens, but they come off, and so you can keep reading. But we're in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, and we'll actually move into chapter 5 this morning. But reading the book of Ecclesiastes for me personally, as I've read this and reread it over the last few weeks, is kind of like the experiencing of having Solomon open my mail, or having Solomon read my journal. And the reason I say that is because Solomon has this unique way of asking questions, real questions about life, that most of us are afraid to admit out loud. That's what I mean. Sometimes it feels like, man, he's so raw, he's so honest, he's so truthful in the observations that he's making. And this morning, what we're going to find is that the teacher, Solomon, will confront us with our definitions of success. That we often chase success through the promises that success offers us, things like wealth or power or popularity or self-reliance or busyness. And Solomon understands from his vantage point how futile and empty that race, that chase can be. And often that the price that we pay if we do it without the proper reverence before God. So he's going to ask something of us. And we're going to ask something of us. What is success? You know, I've observed something about within me, and I think most of y'all, us common folks, is that we enjoy poking fun at celebrities and our celebrity-obsessed culture, don't we? Come on, it's kind of fun. We secretly take comfort when we hear someone who's rich and powerful, famous, who takes just this another spectacular nosedive from the platform of privilege or wealth or fame. I don't know what it is, but there's something in us. I have loosely, from a distance, obviously, watched the career of Justin Bieber unfold. You guys are chuckling. Just the name of Justin Bieber emits chuckles, doesn't it? Well, here I looked up Justin's life. I've been intrigued about what he's gone through. Justin grew up in Canada and was discovered in 2007 by a talent manager when he was 13 years old, while the talent manager was watching YouTube videos. This manager was so impressed, he tracked him down to his middle school, and with Justin's parents' permission, he took Justin to Atlanta, Georgia, to record some demo tapes, and within 1 week, he was recording with Usher. 13. Parents, how does that make you feel? Do you feel feelings? Well, today, Justin Bieber has sold 105 million records in the U.S. alone, making him one of the world's best-selling artists. But you all know the rest of the story about Justin, don't you? But by the time Justin was 20, just 7 years later, Justin's life was a mess. He spiraled into all the familiar stories of celebrities: drugs, sex, booze, out-of-control behavior, in which at one point, 270,000 Americans petitioned the White House seeking to have Justin deported from the United States. That's how much he was disliked. So what is success? How do we define success? And how do we avoid the traps that success lay for us? You see, what I noticed about Justin is this. Justin is talented. I don't care who you are. If you listen to that man sing, he can sing. He's got all the range. He is a gifted musician. He is a gifted artist. It is not Justin's fault that success robbed him at 13 and took him to places that he never imagined he would go. See, success, whether you define it as wealth or hard work or popularity or influence or significance, or it's kind of you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you're a self-made person, is not wrong in and of itself, is it? What is wrong, and what we're going to discover with Solomon in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, is what we expect from success. What we believe that success, whatever that means for you, can actually deliver to you. Because what we're going to find in Solomon is that success in and of itself, if it's that you're chasing, is the poorest of all delivery systems to find things that you really want, really meaningful and purposeful. So 3 observations Solomon is going to challenge us in how we define success. And here's the first one. First observation, chasing success. He's going to talk about how it's empty. How chasing success in and of itself is just fruitless. Listen to this, Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors. But this too is what? It's meaningless. It's like water running through your hands. It's like as soon as you might catch it, it eludes you. It's like a bird. It just flies away. So what Solomon is saying, he's really addressing the how we view success and how we put ourselves in this mode and frame of reference. Because most of success, he says, is fueled by envy. Or on the other hand, if we don't achieve success, then we mock people who do achieve success, like Justin Bieber. Now listen, I'm aware that there are people in the world, unique people in the world, in which success is not motivated by greed or envy or jealousy. I get that. That work in and of itself is a reward. God bless you. That's not been my experience necessarily. That if you find a job you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. It's a nice platitude, right? But that isn't really most of our experience. Come on, that's what Solomon is trying to help us understand. That is not most people's experience with success. Because Solomon, if there's anything you have to know, when you read Ecclesiastes, he's dealing in facts. He's dealing with what he observes as most true. He's not dealing with the exceptions. Well, what about this person? I had a great uncle once. If you look at Solomon from that perspective of the exceptions, you'll never hear his wisdom. Solomon is saying most people are motivated to succeed by what others have or what they don't have. And this is so obvious to me, it even seems silly that I have to say it. It's not just keeping up with the Joneses, by the way. You know that old phrase, right? Your neighbor gets a boat, and then you got to get a boat, and then your neighbor gets the new pickup, and then you got to get the new... That's a simplistic way, I think, of him thinking about it. I think a better understanding is that look at like Twitter, the Twitter world, the social media world, even our political environment. Those environments rely and are fed on what? Your resentments, your grievances, and your comparisons to other people and what you have and what you don't have. According to a 2017 poll, Tom Brady is the NFL's most passionately hated or loved player. True? Those who know Tom Brady? I use this because I think most people know Tom Brady, football player for the Patriots. I came across this. ESPN sports commentator Will Cain explained why most people hate Tom Brady. That reveals, I think, the truth that Solomon is trying to expose us to. He said this: people dislike Tom Brady because most of us down deep are very weak. Most of us are unsatisfied with our own failings in life, our own overinflated sense of what our expectations were for ourselves. Tom Brady reminds us of that. Tom Brady is a constant reminder of your own failings. Ouch. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got money. He's a positive person. He's won, but everything about him, he goes on to say, it reminds you he's better than you. He's a better guy than you, he says. Here's the main problem. It's not just that he's great, it's how he's done it. He's a 6th-round draft pick. Everything you didn't do right, Tom Brady did. His success is a constant reminder that you could have done better if you had made the same sacrifices as Tom Brady did, and we cannot forgive him for that. Wow, that is scathing. And here's what he says in the end. People don't really like what it takes to be successful. They don't want to pass up the donut. They don't want to check their ego. They don't want to never be late for a meeting. They don't want to hold everybody accountable. So when they see someone do all that, they've got to explain it away. Solomon says, most people, the way we chase success is out of our own envy and greed, our lack of it ourselves. And while I don't put Tom Brady on the same pedestal of virtue as this commentator does, he does make a compelling point about how we view success through the eyes of envy and greed and jealousy. Our envy of others as we chase success, or our envy that makes us avoid success, actually becomes a mirror to me. Has more to say about me than it does to say about anybody else. I find this with all kinds of ways, not just money or wealth or fame. I see it how we make comparisons. Parents make comparisons to other parents, right? We start living our lives. We start striving for something based on what we look around and see that parent's doing or that parent's not doing. We can do that as husbands and wives. We make comparisons. And in the end, I have to ask myself, students, you have to ask yourselves this. Am I chasing this degree? Why am I? Because it provides a certain income? Why? Solomon's asking yourselves, why do you put yourself on this hamster wheel? You have to consider, perhaps it's because you're doing it only because as you're looking around yourself, it's because you're doing it because you're envious of what others have or what you don't have. And that, he says, is what? Chasing the wind. You never get there, do you? We said success is motivated by envy and it's corrosive to the soul, but the answer isn't going the opposite way, y'all. To do nothing. To move into mom's basement for the rest of your life. Verse 5, he says this: fools fold their idle hands, leading them to ruin. Solomon notes here that as you see others succeed, you can adopt a complete opposite attitude towards success. And you can become the person that looks at it and says, well, I'm dropping out of that rat race. I'm getting off that wheel. I'm going to take myself off the treadmill, and I'm going to yearn just to get the highest score in Call of Duty. Right? I'm just going to drop out altogether. And Solomon says, no, that is not for your good either. That robs you of the joy of personal responsibility, of taking something in your hand, building, creating, that God has designed you for impact, to do something important, to put your heart and your mind into something. That folding your hands and just becoming an idol is foolish because you lose your own self-respect. As much as chasing success through envy is a tireless circle, so is it's not any more noble just to drop out, to give up, to give in. Success is not the enemy. Envy, greed, or giving up is. And here's his conclusion. It's nice. Sometimes he doesn't have conclusions. He says this, better to have one handful with quietness than two handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. Think about that for a moment. He says, it's better, considering all this, it's better to have one handful with quietness than two handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. I think what Solomon means by one handful, by the way, one handful is less than two handfuls, right? So what he's saying, it's an addition through subtraction, right? He's saying it's better just to have one handful of quietness, that you live in the peace and the quietness of who you are before God, that you live in this true awareness, authentic of awareness of your true worth, your true value, and you don't see it through the extremes of envy, and you don't see it through the extremes of giving up. You become who God wants you, how he's made you, and that's enough. One handful's enough. I don't need to be busy and chasing with two handfuls of hard work. I'd rather have just one handful of peace, knowing who I am and who I belong to. Well, that's Solomon's first observation. Here's the second observation he makes about chasing success, and he's going to confront how we define success through our security. He says this, verse 7, I have observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who is all alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, and you've been there, why am I doing this? Who am I working for? Why am I giving up so much pleasure now? It's also meaningless and depressing. And here's these famous verses. Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. And likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two stand back to back and conquer. And three are even better yet, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. See, what Solomon's doing in this section is he's challenging our illusions, like even the American dreams of how we define success. Success is someone who's a self-made person, a man or woman. A success is the independent man or woman who builds their empire and then stands upon their empire and says, mission accomplished. Solomon says that's a pipe dream. And especially if it comes at the expense of the relationships that God has provided for true security. For Solomon, you know what's worse than being poor? It's spending your life building security, a deeper portfolio, and in the end, you find yourself alone. That is what is true insecurity. Do you see what I'm saying here? You with me? Isaiah 55, one of my favorite verses, verse 2, says this, simple question, why pay your money for what does not satisfy? That is the right question. Why build a portfolio? Why do go through all this hard work? But and at the end of my life, I find myself alone. If it doesn't deliver the satisfaction and the hopes and the promises I thought it would. And what's his answer to that? Instead, here is a new way to view your success. View what success is. Two are better than one. They help you succeed. Solomon's not against your success, by the way. He's for your success. It's how you get there. And when you fall, someone can pick you up. When you're cold, you have someone who warms you. When you're attacked, you have someone that's got your back. You can't build up a pile of money high enough to fend off a cancer diagnosis. Things happen. No matter how much money you build up, you'll never dig a bunker deep enough to protect you from all the ways life can be chaotic and crazy, right? You'll never fashion a suit of armor thick enough to prevent others from hurting you. Solomon says instead, your deepest vulnerability is what? It's not that you're not have enough money. Your deepest vulnerability is loneliness. Standing alone, clutching my money, my can of beans. Solomon says the price that we pay for keeping, maintaining, and sacrificing for relationships, even though it's inconvenient, and even though it robs you of your independence, young people, yes, getting married, having children, like it steals all your money and it robs you of your independence. But these are the places you find purpose and meaning. Giving yourself away, right? Being self-sacrificial. So Solomon says, be careful how you define security. And here's the last observation he's going to make about chasing success, is how we define success as significance. Verse 13, it is better to be a poor but a wise youth than an old and foolish king who refuses all advice. Such a youth could rise from poverty and succeed. He might even become king or president, though he had been in prison. But then everyone rushes to the side of yet another youth who replaces him. Endless crowds standing around him, but then another generation grows up and rejects him too, so it's all meaningless, like chasing the wind. So he's defining how we define success as being significant, leaving a legacy. But Solomon pulls the rug out from under us, doesn't he? Saying you can reach the pinnacle of human glory only to be replaced by someone younger and sexier. Someone wealthier and greater. I don't care who you are. In this fact, the older generation probably feels this already. When you start to get retired, it's like, I feel replaced. And Solomon says, yes, you have been. Now, for a moment, imagine being a world champion racer. You're winning the Tour de France 7 consecutive years, becoming a spokesperson for cancer survivors, and accumulating millions of adoring fans all over the world, and then in one fell swoop, it's all taken away. Who am I describing? Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong lost it all in that famous doping scandal, and he was banned for life from all competitive sports. He's been stripped of all his titles since 1998. It's like all those Tour de Force races he won, history doesn't remember them. Gone. Poof. And after that cheating scandal, every single one of his sponsors dropped him. Some reports said that Lance in one day lost $75 million. His charity, his legacy, right, Live Strong, dumped him. Nike cut all ties with him in 2013. Lance's namesake, his reputation, his legacy, Live Strong, now, in my mind, is equivalent to live wrong. See, when you end up chasing success as an end in itself, remember, success is not wrong, but it's the end. Like, means everything. When it's the end in and of itself, even if you reach it legitimately, what does Solomon say? You'll be replaced, and you'll be forgotten. And that is chasing the wind. See, without a compelling why of what you're doing, you're going to put your feet to the treadmill tomorrow, right? Without a compelling reason why, without a controlling reason for your success or your failures, without the stabilizing presence of God in the pursuit of success, your work, your relationships, they can and never will deliver the peace that God offers you. Because that God has created you for a relationship. See, the temptation, I think Solomon understands, as you chase success, is to wrongly assume that you are the master of your own fate and that you are the sole driver of your own destiny. As if God doesn't see or God doesn't care or God is not in control of everything. It's to assume I'm the master. I'm the creator and sustainer of my own destiny, and I end up with 2 handfuls of work and no handfuls of peace. Listen to this, how he ties this together as our promises and our words and our pursuits. Chapter 5, verse 1, as you enter the house of God, that's symbolic of his presence. Keep your ears open and your mouth shut. That's pretty clear, isn't it? It is evil to make mindless offerings to God. Don't make rash promises and don't be hasty in bringing matters before God. After all, God is in heaven and you are here on earth, so let your words be few. Other translations start this way. They say, guard your steps in the presence of God. as you enter God's presence, because Solomon's trying to remind us, in case we forget, because we forget that we are not masters of our own universe. Where is God and where are you in this whole rat race? God is in heaven. Now we know theologically he's also everywhere at all times. But he's making a point. God is in heaven. He transcends time and he transcends your limitations. And that God is unlimited and God is all wise and God is all power and God is all knowing. And what's your place? I'm here on earth. Right? I am a prisoner of the history of time today. Where God transcends time, I'm locked in time. Where God transcends my limitations, I am limited. Where God transcends wisdom, my wisdom looks foolish, right? Because Solomon's trying to help us understand, in order to understand success and the things your hands are going to be put towards, you have to understand your position before God in order to have meaning and purpose of why you're doing what you're doing. So he says this, I love this. So let your words be few. He's saying there's too much talky-talky. There's too much activity. There's too much busyness. We're doing things without even thinking of why we're doing it. There's too much comparisons. And nowadays we got comparisons out the wahoo. As we look at this person, what they got and what they went with. And I need this and I need this. He's saying, when you come into the presence of holy God and his goodness, stop talking. Just sit before his presence. Let your words be few. Because all of your promises you make and all the things you say, God knows. And what he's going to say next is he knows you're not even going to follow through. So let your words be fewer. Listen to this. All right. Verse 3. Too much activity gives you restless dreams. Maybe your restless dreams are because you're too much talky and not enough city before God. Too many words make you a fool. And when you make a promise to God, don't delay in following through, for God takes no pleasure in fools. He suffers no fools. Keep all the promises you make to him. It is better to say nothing than to make a promise and not keep it. And don't let your mouth make you sin. Our mouths, we say things. And don't defend yourself by telling the temple messenger, which really is an angel, that the promise you made was a mistake. It was an error. I didn't know what I was doing. That would make God angry, and he might wipe out everything you have achieved. Talk is cheap, like daydreams and other useless activities. And what does he ground this in? Fear God instead. Fear God, revere him, because it's only when we understand our place and our position before God that will give us the kind of humility that we won't be chasing the wrong things. Are you with me? Okay. Maurice Switzer, not Mark Twain, I found out, said this phrase. Said, it's better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid than open it and remove all doubt. Isn't that kind of seem what Solomon's getting at? Let your words be fewer. Let your promises be made more introspectively. Or as Goose says to Maverick in Top Gun, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash. Some of you probably have never watched Top Gun. But you know what Solomon's getting at? Don't let your mouth write checks that your actions won't cash. Because when you understand your position before God, that God is transcendent, God knows everything, it gives me the proper perspective and how then I live my life. How I make my decisions, how are my choices, in which I live my life not chasing success that leads to maybe I stand at the mountaintop, but I'm replaced as soon as I get there. What good is that? This leads me to Jesus in John chapter 14. Jesus says, I am leaving you with a gift. As he says before his disciples, and he ends up going to the cross, he says, here's the gift, a peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give, so don't be troubled or afraid. I've always struggled with this verse because I'm like, okay, what is the gift? Okay, it's peace of mind and heart, but, can't you have that kind of even if you're apart from Jesus? And I think here's the gift that Jesus gives of peace in mind and heart. You know what it is? It's not a gift that the world can give you. See, the illusion, the American dream of what chasing success means is the illusion that somehow you can extract from your success, and even if you define it as significance or security or money or wealth or popularity or fame or all those things, we tend to think that is going to deliver the goods, right? That's going to finally deliver the thing I really want, security, comfort, peace. And Jesus says, I give you a gift that comes through the cross, my death and resurrection, as you believe and trust me, a gift that's going to be different than how the world gives it to you. Because the world's going to promise you things it can't deliver on, but I will deliver you peace of heart and mind, regardless of the external circumstances. St. Augustine said this: "You have made us for yourself, O Lord." Make this your prayer. "And our hearts are restless until they rest in you." I think that's what Solomon's trying to help us understand. Because we are searching and seeking beings, aren't we? We're restless beings. That's why we place our hope and confidence in stuff that can never deliver us the goods that it promises to deliver. We're restless beings. We're seeking people, and success is always a moving target. Boop. You think you get there? Nope, it's over here. Nope, it's over here, right? Nope, it's over here. Success is always a moving target, and only Christ, his presence and his peace, is the proper place, the proper destination for your dreams, your successes, your failures, and your hopes. That's what he means, Jesus. I give you a gift of peace of mind and heart.